It's okay. I forgot to record today, by the way, unfortunately. Okay, it's okay, not bad. Let's start recording from now.
Sir,
Now, yes.
why it's not y square with e to the power x over y?
Sorry? Y it is what?
Multiply by the y square.
Where? Where? You mean the derivative?
The second step, we multiply by the y square. Yes.
Here, we multiplied by y squared, both sides. It cancelled here. When we multiplied by y squared, it cancelled with this one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. So now, the same idea here, Shabab. Let me ask someone also to help me with this. The tan inverse of x squared y, Shabab. How to differentiate this? The idea. But for this one, we did several problems like this. How to differentiate tan inverse x squared y? X squared y. Salih Al-Saqabi. Can you, yeah, Salih, know how to differentiate this? Do you know?
Yes.
Yalla, good. You need to remember what is the derivative of tan inverse x? What is it, Salih?
3 by.
Salih? What is the derivative of tan inverse x?
You hear me?
Yes, I hear you. What is it, Salih? Please.
I didn't know, sir.
Unfortunately, Shabab, this is not good at all. Let me go to Sagar Sukari. Sagar, do you know what is the derivative of tan inverse of x?
دكتور تكون 1 over
1 over 1 plus x squared, yeah, Shabab, please. So now that if you have a function here, if you have another function here, if you have g of x, here you will have also g of x all squared, and here you will multiply by the
multiply g prime of x.
It will be like this. So this is what you are going to do here. The derivative of tan inverse x squared over y will be just 1 over 1 plus x squared y all squared. Here we multiply by the derivative of x squared y. What is the derivative of x squared y? The derivative is x squared y prime plus 2xy. That's it. You can write it here in the denominator if you want. It will be okay. Now this will be equals to the derivative of this side. So the derivative of x is what? 1. The derivative of that one, it is x 2y. Let me write it as 2. This is x 2y y prime plus y squared. Now just it is about solving an equation for what? For y prime. Where we have y prime, we have it here. We have it also here. So we will solve it for y prime. How? We will distribute. It will be x, or you can of course multiply that one here. So it is x squared over 1 plus, here it will be x to the power 4 y squared y prime plus 2xy over 1 plus x to the power 4 y squared equals to 1 plus 2xy y prime plus y squared. Now you will take this one to the another side, so you will have it here x to the power squared. I think it was okay to multiply this, to distribute this and multiply it by the right hand side if you want. X squared over 1 plus x to the power 4 y squared minus, bring this one to here, it will be minus 2xy, and take y prime as a common factor. Here you will have 1 plus y squared minus this term, bring it to here. Now you need to make them a single fraction to make the process easier. You need now y prime will be this divided by this. And of course, you need to make them a single fraction in the denominator, single fraction in the denominator, simplify, you will end up with this answer. This will be the final answer. Do it, ya shabab, at home. Continue doing this algebraic steps at home. Try to do it by yourself. And the final answer is there. You can check. Now let's take another one. Here it is important. You can make it long or short. It depends on you. So here you have an expression. Here you have y plus x squared y cubed equals to 10, something like this. He gave you the value of the function at 1, and he wants the value of the derivative at 1. So the idea is clear. You need the derivative of x. You need the derivative of x. If you have it, you can find it, the derivative at 1. But in fact, you don't need here in this case to find f prime of x explicitly. We will see that. So what we will do, ya shabab, we will differentiate both sides with respect to x. So what we will have, it will be what? Let me ask someone to help me with that. Rayyan Shahrani. What is the derivative here? It will be f prime of x plus.
F prime of x.
What is the derivative here, Rayyan?
The product rule.
The product rule. It will be x squared, the first one, multiplied by the derivative of the second, which is 3.
Yes, 3 f of x
all
multiplied by all two square and multiplied by f of x prime.
Excellent. Equals to 0 because the derivative of 10 is 0. Now you can, ya shabab, solve it for f prime. You have f prime here. You take it as a common factor and solve it. But of course, we forget some step. We did one step, ya Rayyan. We did.
Yes, plus.
We still have 2x multiplied by what?
Plus
by
2x.
All to the power 3. Be careful.
F of x.
Yes,
Yes.
you didn't finish the product rule, and this is a common mistake, ya shabab. Some of you, they just did one step and they forget the next one. Now, again, ya shabab, you can solve it for f prime. You can solve it for f prime until you have it, but no need. What I don't want f prime of x. I want f prime at 1. So what I will do, I will just substitute instead of x by what? By 1. So what we will have? We'll have a plus 3x squared is 1. So this will be 3. F at 1 all squared times, let me write it for you to understand what I did. So this is 1 squared, f at 1 all squared times f prime at 1 plus 2 times 1, f at 1 all cubed equals to 0. Now f prime at 1, I don't know what is it. This is what I want. 3 times 1, it is 3. What is f at 1? F at 1 is 2. So this will be what? This will be 4. Plus or times the derivative at 1. I don't know what is it. Plus 2 times f at 1. F at 1 is what? F at 1 is 2. So 2 to the power 3 will be 8 equals to 0. Now I can find it easily. This is 12 f prime at 1 plus 16 equals to 0. This means that 13 f prime at 1. We have 1 plus 12. It is 13. Equals to negative 16, which means that f prime at 1 equals to negative 16 over 13. The another way, check your answer. The another way is to find f prime of x, to solve it for f prime of x and then substitute. But I think this is okay because I don't need to find f of x. I just want to find f prime at 1. Any question, shabab? Let's go to the next one. Use the implicit differentiation to find the equation for the tangent line for this curve. Again, shabab, to do that, you need to differentiate both sides. But by the way, what you want to find the tangent equation, you need y minus y at what point? This point. So it will be y minus a half equals to the derivative at 0 times x minus 0. So it will be just like this. So we need just to find the derivative at 0. What is the derivative at 0? To do that, you just need to what? To do differentiation. 2x plus 2y y prime. Correct me if I'm wrong, ya shabab. So this is 2y y prime. And now, how to differentiate this? Let me ask someone to help me. Mastur al-Marzouk. Do you know how to differentiate this, ya Mastur? You should know, ya shabab. Mastur.
Yes, yes.
Yes, can you please differentiate this? Differentiate this. Good.
4x.
لا عرفت انك ما انت ماشي صح. يا مستور, if you have g of x all to the power 2, how to differentiate it?
ما شفت باور 2 معلش.
ايوه, ابدأ بالباور, differentiate the power. This is a common also mistake. So
Okay.
2
2
times
multiply by the g of x.
But whatever it is here, to the power 1 and then multiply by the derivative.
Yes.
Okay, so it will be 2 times
I have a question.
Squared plus 2y squared minus x
Minus
times
x.
Yes. What is
Multiply
the equation?
4x
4x
plus 4 y prime
y prime أحسنت minus
-1.
-1 أحسنت, you are right. Now what you need to do يا شباب is
دكتور.
yes, who has a question يا شباب? What is the question?
me teacher Turkey العتيبي. And the first step, how did you get 2y multiplied by the derivative of y?
What is the derivative? What is the, if you have g of x to the power 2, how to differentiate it? What's the
Multiply 2 by g of x and take the derivative of the inside function.
هذه y.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Y
Sorry.
is a function of x.
Yes.
Y is a function of x. Okay, شباب. Now, do we need to find the derivative explicitly, يا شباب? Do we need to find what is y prime? Y prime equals what? Something over something? No. We just want y prime at 0. So what I'm gonna do, when x is 0 and y is a half, what will happen? What we will have here? So at the point 0 and a half, we will have 0 plus 2 times half, it will be 1. So we will have y prime at 0 equals to, here we will have 2 times what? 0 plus a half minus 0 times 0 plus 4 over 2, it will be 2y prime minus 1. Am I right? Are you following me يا شباب? This is y prime at 0 طبعا, not in general. Now what we will have, y prime at 0 equals 2. This will be a half times 2, it will be 1, and this will be 2y at 0 minus 1. Now bring this one to there, it will be y prime at 0 equals to 1. Am I right? So now what will be the equation of that line? It will be y minus a half equals to 1 times x minus 0. It will be, of course, 1 times x, it will be x. And you can, of course, write it as y equals to x plus a half. Check that answer. It is there. Is that clear, Shabab? So be smart to save your time when you're solving a question like this. Now let's go. Do we still have? Oh, unfortunately, we still have problems from 3.5. We need to finish them quickly, Shabab. How to find the derivative of this one? Find the derivative of this function and simplify where possible. Now, how to differentiate this? X sine inverse of x. So it will be the product rule. It will be x times the derivative of sine inverse. What is the derivative of sine inverse? What is the derivative of sine inverse? Ya Mus'ab. Mus'ab, what is
it's
sine inverse?
1 over the root of 1 minus x squared.
Ahsant. Yes, plus this is the first one multiplied by the derivative of the second. Now the second one multiplied by the derivative of the first, which is of course 1. Plus, what is the derivative of 1 minus x squared, ya shabab? It will be 1 over 2 square root. This is how to differentiate the square root. Multiplied by the derivative of the insider function. What is the derivative of this? The derivative of this is negative 2x. Usually we prefer to write it here. So let's write it here, negative 2x. And this is the derivative of the insider function. Now simplify, this will be equals to x over square root of 1 minus x squared plus sine inverse x. And this will be minus x over square root of 1 minus x squared. If you notice, this will be the same as this, and they will be cancelled, and you will end up with sine inverse of x. The derivative of this function is sine inverse of x. Let's now, Shabab, this is 77. I think you have studied this in the lecture. Am I right, Shabab? How to prove this?
Yes.
For sure. So for just in case, if you didn't, I put the solution here for you in details, okay? Yeah, Shabab, I don't prefer to write the whole solution for you because I don't want you to read. I want you to practice by just looking at the final answer. Now let's go to section 3.6. 3.6 is about the logarithmic functions, how to differentiate them. So this is the derivative of the logarithm with any base, b greater than 0, of course. It is 1 over x ln b. طبعا when b is e, this will be ln e will be 1. And in that case, we will have the ln of x, the derivative of ln of x, 1 over x. By the way, not only that, the derivative of the absolute value of x, it is 1 over x also. And there is a proof about that in your book. And also generalize it by using the chain rule. By using the chain rule, the derivative of the ln of any function will be the derivative of that function over g. So if you have ln g, it is g prime over g. for any function g. This is in the Leibniz notation. The logarithmic differentiation, it is a method that simplifies taking the derivative of complicated functions. So use it. What is it? You need to take the ln, this is the natural logarithm, the ln of both sides, and then differentiate with respect to x and solve for y prime. What else in this section? You have studied the e as a limit in this way, and you proved, we have proved there is a proof in the slides or in the textbook also how this is correct, why it is, from where it is coming. This is a warning, ya shabab. Be careful, don't mix up between the power rule and the exponential rule. So when you have x to the power b, the derivative here, the derivative is, when you have this, it will be b x to the power b minus 1. But when you have b to the power x, this will be b to the power x times ln b. So it is important to ask yourself, what is the base and what is the exponent? I have listed here some details for you. So in the first one, when you have a constant, even if it is written 2 to the power 3, the derivative of 2 to the power 3 with respect to x, it is 0, because 2 and 3 are constants. The same as here, b to the power n is a constant. There is no x, it does not depend on x, so its derivative is 0. So when you have constant base and constant exponent, the derivative will be 0. When you have a variable base and constant exponent, then the derivative will be using the power rule. When you have constant base and variable exponent, then you will use the exponential rule. And finally, when you have exponential, when you have variable raised to another variable, you have a function raised to another function, you need to use the logarithmic differentiation. And by the way, if you use the logarithmic differentiation, the derivative will be like this. Here it is. I have put it for you here. If you can, of course, memorize it and you have strong memory, you can use it. But I don't advise you to do so. Just use the logarithmic differentiation. And I explained here what is the logarithmic differentiation. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Now let's apply that for some exercises. This is direct, ya shabab, by the chain rule. The derivative of sine ln x, the derivative of this function, it is just the derivative of sine is cosine, multiplied by the derivative of the inner. What is the derivative of ln x? It is 1 over x. Done. This is the derivative. Let me take another one. Ln x times e to the power negative 2x. Again, the derivative of this function will be, the derivative of ln is what? You need to remember that the derivative of ln g of x, its derivative is g prime of x over g of x. So what we will do here, we will write here what is inside the ln, the argument, we will write it in the denominator. Here we will write its derivative. Differentiate now this. What is the derivative of it? It is x times the derivative of e to the power x, it is e to the power negative 2x multiplied by the derivative of the power, which is negative 2. Be careful about the signs. Minus or plus, it is plus because we are differentiating this now. It will be the first times the second. Now it is the second times the first, which is 1 times e to the power negative 2x. Simplify your answer. Now here you have e to the power x and e to the power x. Take it as a common factor. Here we will have negative 2x plus 1 all over x e to the power negative 2x. Notice that there is no ln when we differentiate here. The ln is gone. Now this will be cancelled with this one, and we have 1 minus 2x over x. This is the derivative of this function. The final answer is here. You can simplify it, by the way, more. It will be 1 over x minus 2. You can simplify as much as you can. Let's take another example. Now the same idea here. I will not repeat this, ya shabab. The same as you did here. It will be, the derivative will be the same argument here. Here you will put the derivative of it. The derivative of this. I will leave it for you, and the final answer is here. Simplify it as much as possible. The same idea. You have ln of x plus ln. So this is the argument of the outer ln. To find the derivative at 1, you need to find the derivative in general. So what is f prime of x? F prime of x, again, what is inside ln? Write it here. And now differentiate this. Now what you will do here, you will multiply by the derivative of this, the derivative of the argument. What is the derivative of the argument, ya shabab? The derivative of x is 1 plus the derivative of ln x is 1 over x. So here we are. Now simplify. What is remaining is simplifying. Or stop here and say this implies that f prime at 1 will be what? 1 plus 1 plus ln 1. It is 2 over ln 1 is 0, so it is 2 over 1, it is 2. ولا أسهل. Let's take another exercise. Why? What is wrong with them with ln? All the problems about ln. Okay, how
because the lesson about, I think, logarithmic functions.
But there is other logarithm, and there is you can write it squared, ln all squared. You can make any trick. Let's take square root of. How to differentiate it when it is like that, not direct ln. It's okay. So the idea is now how to find the tangent line. You have the given point. Halas, y prime is again the same idea, x squared minus 3x plus 1. And here we have 2x minus 3. What is that? This is the derivative of the argument. This is y prime. Now both x equal to 0 and y equals to 3 if you have y, and find the equation. It is not difficult. I will leave it for you. It is direct. It is a matter of substitution. Use the logarithmic differentiation. This is what I'm looking for. Use the logarithmic differentiation to differentiate this. Now, if you use, ya shabab, the usual methods, it will be long. Try to use the usual derivative. If you make it this way, by the way, this is what? This is x minus 1, all x to the power 4 plus 1, all to the power half. So to differentiate it by the usual way, it will be a half multiplied by this to the power negative a half multiplied by the derivative of that one. And you need to apply the quotient rule. It is not long, by the way, but of course, it will be easier to use the logarithmic differentiation. How? Look, we will say, we will take ln of both sides. So you have this y equals to this. So we will take ln of this side equals to ln of this side, this one. But you know, shabab, when you have ln x to the power n, it will be n ln x. This is the power law for logarithm. So I'm gonna do it from the beginning. So I will write it here: a half ln, or ln as you want to say, ln the natural logarithm of this expression without the power. So it will be ln of x minus 1 over x to the power 4 plus 1. And you know, shabab, also that ln x over y, it is just ln x minus ln y. So this will be equals to a half ln x minus 1 plus or minus a half of ln x to the power 4 plus 1. Why you multiply by a half? Because a half is multiplied by all of them. It was here, but I have distributed. Now we are ready, ya shabab. This is ln y equals to this. Now apply the implicit differentiation. What is the derivative of ln y? The derivative of ln y, it is y prime equals to this. The derivative is a half ln x plus 1. What is the derivative of ln x plus 1? It is x minus 1. And here you will have the derivative of x minus 1, which is 1, minus a half. Here you have what? The derivative of this, it is x to the power 4 plus 1. The derivative of the argument, it is 4x to the power 3. And now the derivative that we are looking for, just multiply by y. Multiply both sides by y. It will be y multiplied by this. Let me write the half as a common factor. I think it is what it was not. It wasn't a good idea to take it from the beginning. Keep it here. So it will be here like this. Now it will be a half multiplied by y. And of course, this will be multiplied by 1 over x minus 1 minus 4x cubed over x to the power 4 plus 1. Now, of course, you need to ask yourself, what is this y? Here it is. Just write it down here. In the next step, you will write a half square root of, and you will continue. As you have in the final answer, I think here, yes. This is y, and this is the half. He distributed the half, by the way. It is okay. Is that clear, Shabab? Any question about this? So it is important to know how to apply the differentiation, the logarithmic differentiation. I wish we have another one. Yes. How to differentiate this? You have now a function raised to another function. So the base is variable and the exponent is variable. How to differentiate it? You have to use the logarithmic differentiation. What you will do, you will write ln y equals to ln tan x all to the power 1 over x. And as I said before, ya shabab, you know that by the power rule that this will be equals to 1 over x ln tan x. Now take the derivative of both sides. What is the derivative here, ya shabab? It is y prime over y equals to. Now to define the derivative here, what we will use? What we will use, ya Hisham?
Product
Al-Malik.
rule.
The product rule. We will use the product rule. So it will be the first one multiplied by the derivative of the second. What is the derivative of the second? Yeah, Abdullah al-Bluji. What will be the derivative of the second one? Ln tan x.
We put ln tan x in the denominator.
Tan x in the denominator, and here the derivative of tan x. What is it?
Okay.
Secant squared x. Be careful, ya Abdullah. Ahsant plus. Now this is the product rule. This is the first times the derivative of the second. Now we will have the second. This is the second. Multiplied by the derivative of the first. What is the derivative of 1 over x?
Minus 1 over x.
Muhannad al-Atibi. Muhannad, are you with us, Muhannad?
Yes.
What is the derivative of 1 over x, Muhannad?
1 over x.
Yes, you should know this, ya shabab. For sure. You will use it.
Minus x.
Minus 1 over x squared.
Minus 1 over x2.
It will be x to the power negative 1. The derivative is negative x to the power negative 2. It is always like that. Khalas ya shabab. The last step is to multiply both sides by y. So what is y? Y is this. This is y. Multiplied by this, طبعا you can write it as secant squared x over x tan x minus ln tan x all over x squared. You can simplify, by the way, shabab, secant squared with tan, you can simplify them because secant it is 1 over cosine and tan it is sine over cosine. You can simplify more if you want, but it's okay to have it like that. Let's go to, I think, the last question here. Find the formula, the nth derivative, for the nth derivative of this function. And this is a common question, ya shabab. Usually you have to get this idea and this trick without wasting your time. So what you need to do, ya shabab, is to get the pattern. Now, this is f of x. Now, what is f prime of x? Simple. What is f prime? It is 1 over x minus 1.
No.
Clearly. So now to find the second derivative, ya shabab, it is better to have this in the power rule, instead of the quotient rule. So I will write this, the first derivative, I will write it as x minus 1 to the power negative 1. Now when I differentiate, it will be easier for me. It will be negative x minus 1 to the power what? Negative 2 multiplied by the derivative of x minus 1. What is the derivative of x minus 1? It is 1. So no need to worry about that. So the final answer is negative x minus 1 all to the power negative 2. Now let's find the third derivative. The third derivative, differentiate this now. It will be what? Negative times negative 2. So it will be 2 times x minus 1 to the power negative 3. Is that right? Are you now sure about your pattern, or you need to find the fourth derivative? Find the fourth derivative. The fourth derivative will be what? Will be negative 2 times 3 x minus 1 all to the power negative 4. Now, can you, shabab, guess what will be the nth derivative? Who can help me with that? Can you, ya Naif al-Ju'aid? Do you know what is the nth derivative of f now, ya Naif? Naif is not here.
Yes, Doctor, I'm here.
Right. Can you get the pattern now? Can you find مثلا the nth derivative, the fifth, the 10th, the 100th, and so on? So what do we have here? We have, look.
Sometime we will have negative and sometime we will have positive.
خلينا شوي من هاي، أجلها شوي، أجل موضوع الإشارة شوي. Now قل لي عن هاي 2 times 3 هنا كانت 2. Here it was 1. So what is this?
It will be
يعني
x minus 1 to the power negative n.
هنا x minus 1 to the power negative n. يا سلام عليك. When it is the fourth derivative, it is 4. Third, 3. Second, 2. Yes, this is correct. Now, الcoefficient اللي هنا, what is it?
n minus 1 factorial.
It is the factorial of n minus 1. أحسنت. Yes, I think this is not Muhannad. Who answered this question?
Yes, Faisal.
أحسنت يا فيصل, but this is not good because I didn't ask you to do that. It's okay. Now,
Sorry,
n minus 1 factorial. If you find, يا شباب, the fifth derivative, it will be positive 2 times 3 times 4. Check that. X to the power minus 1 to the power negative 5. Check that. So here we have n minus 1 factorial. Now, what about the negative? You know, يا شباب, if it is the first derivative, it is positive. The second is negative. The third is positive. The fourth is negative. So usually we have negative 1 to the power n. This will be positive 1 or negative 1. It is positive 1 if n is even. If it is odd, it will be negative. But this is not the case here. It is the opposite. So it is not. If you write here negative 1 to the power n, this is wrong. Because it will be positive when it is even, negative when it is odd. So what we should write here, Shabab? Negative 1 to the power what? Anyone?
n minus 1.
N minus 1 or n plus 1. But since we used here n minus 1, it will be n minus 1. Now, if you make sure, sometimes n plus 1, it doesn't work. Be careful. If you put it here, it works. It's okay, but I prefer here to use the same. Since we used n minus 1 here, use n minus 1. That's it. The final answer is there, Shabab. You can check your answer. Okay, طبعا you can write this in the denominator if you want. You can write it here down to be in the same form. Any question, Shabab? Now, if they ask you to find the derivative number 199, you can find it, of course. Now, in the remaining 4 or 5 minutes, Shabab, let's go to introduce you to the very short section 3.7. The rates of change. طبعا we will study just example 1 يا شباب according to. Have you studied يا شباب 3.7?
Yes.
Ross, we took the beginning of it.
Okay, example 1, only one example يا شباب, but it is very rich example. So to summarize it, if this is the position function, you know يا شباب that the distance traveled from the time t1 to time t2, it will be the absolute value of f of t minus f of 2 of t1. Now the velocity is the derivative of the displacement function or the position function. The acceleration is the derivative of the velocity, the second derivative of the position function. The particle is at rest when the velocity is 0. The particle moves forward in the positive direction if the velocity is positive, and it moves backward in the negative direction if the velocity is negative. And finally, the particle speeds up when the velocity and the acceleration have the same sign, when are both positive or both negative. And the particle slows down when the velocity and the acceleration have opposite signs, which means one of them is positive, one of them is negative. In easy way, this is very easy, Shabab, to remember. It is about the velocity mainly. If the velocity is positive and increasing, it will be speeding up. If it is also negative and decreasing, it will be also speeding up. But if it is positive but decreasing, it will slow down, and so on. So this is, of course, in terms of the velocity and the acceleration, will be more clear when they have the same sign and when they have opposite sign. This is about similar, very similar to example number 1. The same function, polynomial. I will not solve it for you because it is exactly almost the same as example number 1. So I just put here the final answers for you. This is the velocity. You will differentiate this. Here, this is the velocity. And what is the velocity after 1 second? You will put t equals to 1. Now, when the particle is at rest, when the velocity is 0, put this equals to 0. If you put this equals to 0, Shabab, you will not find the real solution. So this means that the particle is never at rest. It cannot be equals to 0. The velocity cannot 0. And When the particle is moving in the positive direction, of course, because it is always positive, this is, ya shabab, always positive. How to know that it is always positive? Take any t. Take any t greater than or equal 0. For example, 0. If you take 0, it will be negative 0, 24. It is positive. So it will be always positive because it has no x-intercept. So it is above the x-axis. So this means that it is always positive. So it always moves in the positive direction. Find the total distance traveled. طبعا بما أنها it doesn't change, it is always positive, it will not change. So in fact, this will be just the value of the function at 6 minus the value of the function at 0. This is the total distance traveled. This is the diagram. It will be moved always to the right, always in forward in the positive direction. There is no negative direction here. And the acceleration after t, you will just differentiate ya shabab, the derivative of the velocity. Differentiate the velocity to have the acceleration, evaluate it at 1. And this is the graph. And of course, when it is speeding up, this is when you want, I'm gonna mention this next class, inshallah. It is important to mention how to know when it is speeding up, when it is slowing down. And we will also solve similar exercise, ya shabab, but of course, different type of functions. Sine, not polynomial. We have here trigonometric functions. We will solve it, inshallah, with details next class.
Doctor.
2 exercises more. Yes.
You didn't mention my name.
No problem. It's okay. I cannot mention all of the students.
Yes, me too, Mr. Ahmed.
Yes.
No. Okay, thank you.
I'm not taking the attendance. Don't worry about that. I will take the attendance from the report, ya shabab. Usually, I will take the attendance. Always, I take the attendance from the report. But I'm just calling some students to make sure that they are here and they are active, and they just to make sure that they are not sleeping. And it is also important, ya shabab, to be involved in the process of solving these exercises, because this is the difference between the lecture and the recitation.